I want to talk a few more things about keeping these guys happy in the winter. I've got so much scraps left over from the party last night. I barely have to feed them this morning. How about 1 scoop of grain? A bit of NutriBalancer. And I'll do some fish meal because I don't think there's much animal protein in there. Mix it in. If there's anything in there they're not gonna eat, like those avocado skins or the orange peels, they'll just leave it and we'll just dump it out and it'll go to the earth. Now sure, sometimes we get an excess of orange peels or whatever, maybe a sticker here and there, produce sticker. We'll just go and pick it up later. There are 3 things I can think of to think about before you even get started with keeping a winter flock. 1, cull any unnecessary members. Now cull doesn't mean necessarily butchering. It could be giving them away, selling them, whatever. Don't go into the winter with any more chickens than you need. The second thing is think about the breed. Have you guys noticed something about all my chickens? They're all really kind of puffy, hardy looking. They look ready for cold weather. Look at all the feathers on these guys. Look at the fat on these guys. Every one of them, all these breeds. Consider breeds like this, dual purpose, winter hardy breeds. Now if you're in the tropics or somewhere warm, think about heat hardy breeds. You don't necessarily want to have a black Australorp down in Florida, okay? These Rhode Island Reds are pretty much universal. Another thing you want to think about before you get started is house placement. Now, many of you don't have a mobile house for whatever reason, and maybe you're gonna build a static coop. This house, it's mobile, it's easy for me. I just face it south. The reason you wanna do that here, in the northern hemisphere at least, is that's where the sun is crossing during the winter. Okay, so that's where you're gonna get your most heat, facing that direction. Let me show you something real quick. That's my house. Let's say I needed to put a chicken coop in that stall right there. That would be a good side, because it's the south side. There's my house again. This time, I'm on the north side. So if I were gonna, ideally, if I were gonna put them in a stall, I would want to choose the other side, at least during the winter, if at all possible. And for you, if you're building a static coop, think about where the opening is going to face, and it should be facing south. Those are some things you want to think about before you get started. But once you get started, I would say the most important thing to keep your chickens happy this winter is good, clean, unfrozen water. Rule number 1, clean water. That's one way I keep my water clean, is keep it up on a pallet. Change it out every day. Don't give them more than what they need in a day because you're gonna have danger of it freezing. We also have Everflow waterer. It's gravity fed, it's always moving, it's unfrozen, it's always clean. That's absolutely amazing, but not everybody can do that. So I recommend the vacuum seal waterers, filling them up each day. I'm counting on the Everflow. I brought up this waterer just for show today to talk to you guys. If I didn't have that, I would put on a pallet in this greenhouse. And that's gonna keep it warm during the day. But what about at night? Well, guess what? They don't drink at night. So I would put that up and drain it out. If you don't drain it out, it's gonna get frozen. Don't ask me how we know that, right? We've learned the hard way. You put it in at night, empty, and then fill it up in the morning. They don't need the water overnight. And if you're in a real cold place and it's gonna freeze during the day, well, if you're at home, you could maybe switch it out a couple of times, but I don't know, do you really wanna do that? There are electrical sources to keep water warm. And if you don't have a greenhouse, I've just leaned over a glass door. And you could surround that with straw bales, or I just propped it up with wood, and it was significantly warmer, just that, just a glass door lean-to. That's water. So I'd say the next most important thing is food. And you can still do a many number of creative foods throughout the winter. like right here. Lots and lots of whole food scraps. Look right there. These are pumpkins, there are squash like that. Those kinds of things saved for a long time that can be fed to them during the winter. Here, let's open this up. That one they're gonna get at, see? And they love the seeds. Jam-packed with nutrients for them. And I had winter squash one year, a full year, on the counter. So that you could grow a bunch of that for them to eat during the winter. Hey, you guys want some of that? Go ahead. Let's see, what else do they have out here? Well, they're on compost. It's probably a little cold for that right now. There's probably not a whole lot of life in there, but they're finding something. And I need to pile it up more. But that's why I made this greenhouse. Technically, you could lift up that board to the greenhouse, move the greenhouse over this, put your board back, and let the compost be warm under the greenhouse. You may just think this is just a barren run. Actually, this is a covered ground. There's actually a deep mulch here. I mean, it's not crazy deep right here, but look, you got a lot of mulch here. The deeper you go with this, the better. You can actually keep the microbial alive if you pile this on deep enough, and that will give the chickens something to do because they come out here and scratch, and then they dig down and they can eat some of that even throughout the winter because it's warmer down in there because of the layer of mulch. Here's another thing right next to my chickens. Grass. More grass. Lots of grass. Dandelion. Clover. Yellow dock. Looks like a vetch. Plantain. This could be my chicken's green source right here. And you guys know the treasures that are under this low tunnel. It wouldn't have been that hard just to grow one more low tunnel just for the chickens. Cut and carry it to them. An old garden bed. Plenty of green foods in here for them. I could totally move them on this or cut and carry it to them. Before I go back down to the chickens, look. You see that tree? That's an oak tree. You're gonna get hundreds of pounds of acorns off that tree in the fall. You can take those acorns, put them in some jeans, or if you have a feed grinder or something like that, but you can do it in jeans, put some in there, take a sledgehammer and crush them up and feed them to your chickens. Excellent source of protein and fat for them. And of course you can store those nuts foreverish, uncrushed. And then once you crush them, you want to feed them within the next 3 months. I got a couple of things I want to show you in the basement for creative feeds. But before I do, I want to just mention that rodents or predators would be great for feed for these guys during the winter if need be. You've got a rat problem, catch those rats and feed them to the chickens. Now you can't do the maggot bucket, so just throw them in there directly. You might have to cut them up for them, a machete or an axe or something like that. Go ahead, this is getting kind of gruesome, gosh. All right, hope you're prepared for that. And then the same thing, like what if you find some roadkill or something, make sure it's fresh. It doesn't need to be stinky. They're not gonna be into that. But those are total possibilities for winter feed. Say you have a persistent predator, and if you absolutely have to, capture it, cut it up, and feed it to them. Remember, they're dinos. You think I'm talking crazy, but they're no vegetarian chickens. I believe if given the opportunity, they would eat 70% of their diet in animal proteins. In here, by the furnace, you don't want to put soaked grains in the coal because there's water and they're going to freeze. This has been soaked. The water has evaporated a little bit and been soaked up. It's ready to go. You could take it from that state after you've soaked it for a day, which right now that's all I'm doing because we're getting ready to go on the Great American Farm Tour. But normally, I want it from after being soaked for a day, I move it over to another bucket, a bucket I call a rinse bucket. It's got holes in it. I pour that grain in it. That holes lets out the water, but not the grains. And then they've been moisturized, but now they're starting to get oxygen. And so then they begin to sprout. And the next day I move them over to another bucket. And the next day after that, I do it to another bucket. You know what? I'll leave a link in the description to an article I wrote about this, and you can learn how to sprout your own grains, because then that gives you a nice green material throughout the winter when maybe greens are a little harder to come by. Now, this has been wound down, so there's not much to see here, but a 18-inch pit lined with cinder blocks. Okay? This was in its prime, a nice vermicomposting pit. If you don't know what vermicomposting is, it's worms turning this into very rich soil, turning things like vegetable scraps or cardboard or manure. We put manure in here. We'd fill it up halfway with manure. Then we put in our worms, and they'd work their magic. And when they're done, we would, or near done, we would fill the other side with manure, and they would migrate. But once they get up to a certain level, they breed fast, and they breed in large quantities. And so when you get to that point, maybe 6 months to a year, you can start harvesting them, and it's sustainable. They're reproducing at the rate that you're harvesting them, and you can throw out a whole scoop to them, dirt and all, or vermicompost and all. And what the chickens don't eat in the worm, the vermicompost, because you've got your chickens like me on a garden area or on compost, it just goes into the system. This is an absolutely brilliant system.
Mr. Brown, did you have a good nap?
Yeah.
Yeah? Who are you going to see? May May?
Yeah.
Is that a good thing to wake up to?
Yeah.
You excited to see all the kiddos? Good girl, May. Aw, you got to get Lily loving, huh? What a good girl. It's going to be an adventure. We're not going too far, though.
Been hanging out by the fire tonight?
It's very hot night.
You like it there? This evening, we're just hanging, well, he's hanging out by the fire. We're getting some work done. We gotta get the beautiful one on the vlog. We can't do a vlog without the beautiful one. So we gotta squeeze her in. We've got these, look, we cannot believe what arrived already. Was that not just like last week?
It was like not, so today's the 19th and we went on the 9th. It was 10 days ago.
It was supposed to take 6 weeks, the passports, but we'll take it. We got our passports.
No, they kept asking me, are you sure you have 6 weeks? And I was like, yeah, I mean, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. This, my friends, represents freedom. We're free to go pretty much anywhere we would need to. Now, we're sticking to America. We are, I guess we're sticking to North America because we're going to go up into Canada too. So we're pretty excited about that. What else have you been doing today? What else did you get today?
I bought the water filters, like so for sediment and chlorine, to take that stuff out, fluoride out of our drinking water.
Nice. And it's going to be built into the tap?
Yes, so the fluoride one will be built in. It'll be like a little
yeah,
at our sink, and then the other ones will go filter the water that goes into our tank.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
And I understand it's not any more than a Berkey or anything like that.
Right. Right.
Cool.
It can do what a Berkey can do, and I don't have to take it apart every time we move the bus.
I know, because that Berkey's
That
not
was
made to be
that was our
mobile.
plan, was to do a Berkey.
Yeah.
But then I was talking to somebody who every time they move, they have to take their Berkey apart. I was just like,
Thank you. Thank
You're
you for all the
welcome.
work.
And
Looking
then,
forward to going to the bus tomorrow.
I am. I'm kind of not feeling well, so I'm gonna take a lot of Master Tonic. I hope that kicks it, whatever it is.